Three, two, one, we're live. Hi, everybody. Good evening. It's Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Of course, that means it's time for yet another live stream, somewhat permaculture influence. How in the world is everybody doing out there? I know it's been a good minute since I've done one of these, so I'm going to try to get myself back into the groove here. I would love to tell you, incidentally, and my green screen's a little bit weird there, but I would love to tell you that I've been spending most of this winter doing really fun and exciting gardening related projects, but that would be incorrect. I spent most of this winter hiding from the cold and fighting a sinus infection and playing video games. So I've not been doing a lot of gardening stuff. I'll have some updates on things like the garlic that we planted in the fall coming up in the future, but that's not what I got to talk to you tonight about. Tonight we want to. Mary just says she just now received push notifications, so that's fun. We're a minute or so into it, and you start getting the push notifications. Anyway, so tonight I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a little bit whenever we get started. Talk about a topic that I think needs to get some coverage. Then I'll follow with a channel shout out and share a link with you, and then I'll get on to the actual real exciting news that we've got to share with you tonight. Okay, I think he has. Dang. Mary's off screen over there doing a little, is that production work is what you're doing? Would you say?
Production.
Yeah, I got a producer. Okay. This is it. Gentlemen, you need to get married. That way you have a built-in producer. All right.
I don't really produce. You see my YouTube videos.
Somebody asked earlier on, is the announcement new hat? No, it's not a new hat. This is an old hat. I just felt like, I don't know,
changing it,
being a little different. And earlier, I was reflecting upon how when I was a teenager in the Ozarks in Missouri, we would go out every weekend, pretty much Saturday nights, and we go up to an old one-room church house that was overlooking Table Rock Lake. This is right by Branson, Missouri, and this is a place that people that worked on the strip would come out to, and they would come and sit down in this church Saturday nights and just play and jam and share music, mostly old songs, country songs and stuff like that, folk songs. And I was a violinist by training, but sitting in and playing fiddle by default, because this is what was played as a teenager. And what I really wanted to do was play the guitar and get into rock and roll, but this was I didn't really have a choice in venue. This is where my parents were taking me. So I came around to appreciating country guitar a bit late. It's a musical form. I was exposed to it a lot when I was younger. I never really did appreciate it much, but it was always playing around when I was younger, right? And there'd be songs that like this, which I'm about 99.9% sure is in the public domain. I was playing Folsom Prison Blues, which actually Johnny Cash got in trouble for originally whenever he played it back in the 1950s, because it came out just a little bit previously as another person's song, and Cash just released a little bit different arrangement of it. Once upon a time, you could get away with that stuff. You say, hey, this is a song that was written by my buddy so-and-so and so-and-so, and I added some stuff of my own to it, and that was what was done, and nobody really thought much of it, because if you're a performer, you got paid at the gate, and that's the way it always was. You gave your performance and it belongs to the audience. Everybody knew that. Recording companies came along and changed things up. But this song is so old, I'm not even sure who the original author is. And so, the cowboy went out riding on one dark and windy day. Upon a ridge he rested as he went along his way, when all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw. Red-eyed, yes, tearing through the ragged sky and up a cloudy draw. Their brands were still on fire and their hooves were made of steel. Their horns were black and shiny and their hot breath he could feel. A bolt of fear went through him as they thundered through the sky. Where he saw the riders coming hard, and he heard their mournful cry. Yippee-yi-yi, yippee-yi-oh. Ghost riders in the sky. Their faces gaunt, their eyes were blurred, their shirts all soaked with sweat. They're riding hard to catch that herd, but they ain't caught 'em yet, 'cause they got to ride forever on that range up in the sky, on horses storming fire. As they ride on, hear their cry. Yippee-yi-yi, yippee-yi-oh. Ghost riders in the sky. As the riders looked on by him, he heard one call his name. If you want to save your soul from hell of riding on our range, then cowboy, change your ways today, or with us you will ride. Trying to catch the devil's herd across these endless skies. Yippee-yi-yi, yippee-yi-oh. Ghost riders in the sky. Ghost riders in the sky. So yeah, I grew up with a bunch of old cowboy music like that going on radio, not radio, but record players in the background and stuff like that. I learned "Faded Love" from a fiddler by the name of Curly Lewis. Curly Lewis played with the Texas Playboys tribute band along with some of the original members. He learned it from Leon Rouse, who of course learned it from Bob Wills. So whenever I pick up a fiddle and I'm playing that song, I can say, I know the lineage of this song. I was taught it directly by this line of people, directly to the original author. So music is fun that way. But, commercialism just has done it in. Sasparrows is with us tonight. Vicky's with us tonight. Mary, of course, is with us. How to Garden is saying hi. Oh my goodness. Diane, glad I caught a live one. Yeah, I'm glad you did. I can't talk. Glad you did too. Like I said, I'm out of practice. Oh my goodness. All right, yeah, Mary's been nagging me people have been nagging me for videos, and I've been planning on doing that corn nixtamalization, making tortillas and stuff for a while. So I was like, okay, we've got some daylight and some actual light outside. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing done. We have got another video coming up that is actually most of my indoor gardening projects all rolled up into one. And I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek or a preview of what we're doing here. I guess it was yesterday that I was watching the survival podcast, Jack Spirico. And I've got this jar here that managed to get a bug in it. It's not supposed to have a bug in it. Survival podcast with Jack Spirico, and he was talking about Azolla. And I said, oh, yeah, I love this plant personally. We've been doing a lot of work with it. Something very exciting that I've been doing as an experiment going back to, September, really. Possibly before that. I mean, I wasn't feeding them much during the summer months. But really, since September, I've been feeding a population of guppies in a tub, no filtration system. It's just planted with Azolla over the top. And that is the bulk of the food that they're getting is the Azolla plant. So that's a self-contained ecosystem that's managed to keep itself fairly clean. And what I have here is a jar of water that I just scooped out of it. As you can see, it's a little off color, slightly greenish. If you can see that, it's slightly greenish. And that greenish is a small amount of algae that has begun to develop and outcompete the other plants that are in the planted system, even though there's not a lot of light being used at the moment, because this is just sort of dappled shade. Sunlight coming in the window is most of the light the system is getting at the moment. but there is enough algae that gets produced that there's some that starts to come in and make the water get a little bit of a greenish tint. I'm getting ready to perform a pH indicator test right now because I'm curious, and I'm sure you are too, if I've got a system, a closed system that consists of some lava rocks, water, of course, um, small live bearing fish like a guppy, a free floating, fairly rapidly reproducing, nitrogen fixing aquatic plant with a very high protein content, Azolla, um, and a few other things. I got some water chestnuts in there and sweet potato vine that are also taking up some of the excess fish waste, right? But we need to hit a certain pH range for the next livestock item that I will be revealing later on this week. And it needs to be somewhere between 6.5 to 8 pH for what I'm going to be adding to the aquatic system. So here we go. There's a little test strip going in. Just dip that in there. And barely any change at all. It comes a little bit green. And if I'm consulting my guide here, when I look and go, well, it's just a little bit to the green side of a dun color, not fully green. Well, that's somewhere between a 7 and an 8. So we have a 7.5 pH. That's perfect for the thing that I'm getting ready to add to the system. Once again, self-contained ecosystem. This sample of water, I wanted to pull it out and let it sit for a little bit so I can get it in the light and look at it really closely, because I'm looking for a few certain things, some organisms that might have gotten into this system that could create a problem later on. One of them is a flatworm called planaria. I think I may have showed off the planaria traps in a previous live stream, explained how you can remove these little parasitic flatworms from your aquatic system using the planaria trap. Between those and the action of the guppies that have been in the system, I am not seeing any planaria, so that's good. But I'm also not seeing any of the small freshwater crustaceans, the Daphnia, that were in here whenever I first recovered the water sample from up on Turkey Mountain. So we're missing one of the components of this ecosystem. And of course, those little crustaceans may have done something themselves towards the cleaning up of that algae. But once those are gone, I'm going to have to find something to fill that niche in the ecosystem, clean up the algae for me. And I will show you what that is in a video coming up later on this week whenever they arrive. That's coming up. Future video dealing with self-contained aquatic systems, and eventually how you get from there to feeding a more complex food web, which does include us. Let me see here. Sorry, yeah, I got the sinus crud is still with me, folks. Oh yeah, Vicky is talking about how I offered to send some Azolla, rather swap. Ground nuts, awesome. I wouldn't mind having some ground nuts. That sounds awesome. I was gonna ask you perhaps if your watercress bounces back this coming spring, like I suspect it would, if we do a swap of aquatic plant for aquatic plant. But ground nut is good too. I love ground nut. I just ordered up some seeds from a company in Canada, up in Manitoba. That may or may not arrive because, hey, it's Canada and things get weird when it comes to organic matter crossing the border. Seeds might be seen and go, what is this? Silura esculenta, what is this? And what it is a native prairie species that was part of the tall grass prairie from up there in Manitoba all the way down into Texas, long before there were ever such things as artificially drawn borders, right? But this particular prairie flower, it produces a blue flower. It's a nitrogen fixer, and it produces it over the course of about 2 years of growth, and a subterranean tuber that's a storage food. So you can plant this nice pretty flower at the edge of your wooded area, your woodland garden, right there at the sunny edge, and you have a nitrogen fixer, a nice pretty blue flower, attractive to pollinators. And after a couple of years, you get hungry, you dig up the tuber, and that's lunch as well. And it just can keep on growing as long as you manage your harvest of this item. It's a long-term self-seeding biennial, effectively. Vicky says I could bury you in watercress without deleting this. I love watercress. Watercress is awesome. It's got a little bit of a spicy cress, hot flavor, and so it's a really good aquatic if you want something to soak up the extra nitrites from your fish if you're raising some fish in the aquatic system. Whatever you can do to clean up the water. But since it cleans up the water and provides you with a tasty vegetable as well, that's extra bonus. We're growing water chestnuts in that aquatic system. It's just a 30-gallon tub at the moment. 30-gallon tub, about maybe 20 gallons worth of water in it, so about a foot of water. The bottom has got nice cleaned off pumice stone, lava rocks, lots of surface area, little nooks and crannies for small creatures to hide in whenever they need a place to hide. I've noticed that the baby guppies like to go low and be down there in the rocks so they have shelter. But they're self-regulating. If the food supply is good, the population increases. It gets to the point where they're starting to compete too much for food, and hey, the big ones eat the little ones, and they keep the entire population regulated that way. Sasspress Red saying, I always get nervous when I get seed from overseas. Getting seed from too far away from your zone is always problematic because where it has been grown, it's accustomed to that climate and it's used to being grown in that climate. Doesn't mean it won't grow in your climate. It's going to be an adjustment for it, and some of it's not going to make it. So get a couple seasons of starting a new plant, keep your seed, and get your seed adjusted to growing to where you're at. Things work a lot better. I've been trying to get some butternut, a certain cultivar of butternut squash from Connecticut to try to like it to grow here, and I haven't had too much success with it yet. But you keep banging away. I only have room for so many plants each season, so eventually I'll get one that wants to grow here. So Wichita is saying, is watercress grown in a more alkali pH, or does it contain a higher pH within the plant? I'd have to spitball off the top of my head here, but I know this about its growth habit. It likes to grow in moving water in streams with an alkali based rock, calcium carbonate rock, limestone. So it grows well with a higher pH. I don't know that it necessarily absolutely has to have it, but it is accustomed in its natural environment to dappled shade. So woodland wetlands, woodland ponds, streams, and stuff like that, preferably streams, and a higher pH. So yeah, not bad here where we have fairly heavy clay and lots of sand. But yeah, limestone is what it grows on in the Ozarks, and it grows really well there. Anyways, I wanted to get on my soapbox for just a little bit and talk about generational thinking, which is the mindset that I think is going to be essential, perhaps, for the preservation of the human species. I think we really do need to get into a generational mindset. And what I mean by that, I should probably go back and reference the thing that made me think about this, which was I was watching a short from Goldshaw Farm. If you guys know Morgan, Goldshaw Farm, he and his wife, married, no kids, no intention of getting kids, but they're operating a small multi-phased farming operation in Vermont. They have ducks, geese, some chickens, and they've added recently some Highland dairy cattle, which are kind of cool. More trouble than I want to put up with for sure, but they're still young, and of course they're talking about they never had any intention of having kids, and the question came, well, what are you going to do with your farm whenever it's time for you to pack it up? You're too old to do the work anymore, what have you? Is there a plan for that? And he says, no, I haven't really had a plan for it. Of course, Paul Wheaton has what's called the SKIP project. If you guys have heard of Paul Wheaton Labs, the SKIP project is an opportunity for people that would like to pass on assets like land to a younger generation, maybe not their own biological heirs, but the kind of heirs that they want to be the new stewards of the land and keep on going with that legacy that you've already established. If you're interested in permaculture, if you're interested in generational thinking, if your idea of improving the world is you're going to go to a piece of property, you're going to elevate it from its natural state, make improvements, earthworks, plant it up with beneficial species, optimize that ecosystem, and then hope that it goes forward and the next generation can take it and then build upon what you've done. Ideally, we wanted this to happen with family farms, but this isn't happening. I mean, even in my own family, the Conrad family, the farming operation that my grandfather and his brother started up whenever they came down from Kansas during the Dust Bowls in the 30s to set up the farming operation. They started out with growing produce and selling produce at market, and then they began aggregating and drawing in produce from other areas, even to the point where they're now ordering up from overseas, up from Mexico, so on forth, so on and so forth, to build a produce market where all of that fruit and all that produce is available. At one time, this is early on during the years whenever Walton was in charge of that particular company that does not sell walls. It was not uncommon for him to come by and visit the family farm because this is where he could count on to get all of that produce to supply his stores. Of course, they don't do this anymore. And great uncle Chester, my grandfather's brother, whenever he was ready to put down the business, none of his children wanted to pick up the produce market or the farm operation. My grandfather had already retired, so at the moment, that particular the logo, the intellectual property, we've had a discussion. We've decided, yeah, it belongs to the family, and if any one of us of the cousins would want to pick it up and start using it, we probably could. So tonight, I'm announcing not the reopening of Conrad Farms officially, no, but I am announcing that one of the Conrad kids is back in the ag business officially, because now you can go to greencountryagroforestry.com, greencountryagroforestry.com, the website, and you will find for sale there two very nice agricultural products. One, of course, is featured in the picture behind me. That is a Cercis canadensis, the eastern redbud tree, leguminous plant, wonderful, wonderful landscape tree. Grows max maybe 25, 30 foot, but you prune it down to keep it manageable in your understory. Very, very pretty, lovely blooms that stun your guests and your neighbors right around March through May for about 3 weeks. They're going to bloom. It's going to draw in tons of pollinators. The bees you would not believe are in those trees, and they absolutely love it. And they're going to come, and they're hopefully going to continue to visit your property even later on in the year, possibly helping to pollinate some other important things for you. So having the redbud trees on your property is excellent for feeding the bees early on in the season. No thorns, which is another nice thing about them. Whenever the flowers are done after about 3 weeks, they're going to leave behind tiny little 4, 5, maybe even 6 millimeter long tender pea pods, which are just like a very miniature snow pea. And at that point, they're absolutely delicious in a saute or in your salad bowl. So it's actually an edible and a pollinator attractor, wildlife attractor, very, very pretty tree whenever they're in bloom. And we have those for sale. These are naturally grown, self-established seedlings that are now gone dormant, and I can now extract them from where they've been growing in the loose, sandy soil of the Arkansas River bottom, package them up as bare root trees, and ship them anywhere in the continental United States. And we have free shipping for orders of over $50. So there you go. Get 2 of them, automatically covered, and we'd be happy to get you a good starter on your early season pollinator garden. A redbud tree doesn't take up a whole lot of space, and it is a really nice addition to your landscape. Anyway, that's one of the 2 products that we have. And the other one is, of course, something that we've been talking about for a while. I noticed that Green Greg says, join the chat. Hello, Greg. Hello. So, Jason is asking if Rickshaw Project is Billy is asking if I get a commission for sales. It's my website. I'm the owner and proprietor. I get all of the sales. I do have to pay the hosting service a small amount to handle credit card transactions and stuff like that. Of course, it's e-business, um, and of course, Mary can attest.
What?
I have
What?
just a huge stack of cardboard back up under the carport.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, hey, when are you do something about this cardboard? Well, the purpose of whenever we get a cardboard box, I don't throw it away. I just fold it flat. Well, usually I get married to fold it flat, and then I move it out under the carport and we save it. So all I have to do now, whenever somebody wants a tree, I get the tree, I dig it out. It's dormant right now. So transplant, boom, spring comes off, they break dormancy, and you're going to have a pretty tree. It'll be there for a good 25, 30 years. Keep it pruned back to stimulate growth and to reset its telomeres, and theoretically, you can keep it living much longer. Secrets. You must coppice your trees if you want them to live longer. Anyway, I can grab one of those boxes, just quickly cut out enough to fold and make a box to ship that tree in, a piece of packing tape up the side, and there you go.
You did order actual boxes.
I do actually have some official
Somewhere.
boxes for small orders about that big. I've got boxes just in case the flat rate shipping at the post office is not available for some reason. That does happen sometimes. No, all right, yeah, buy my weeds. I've debated whether or not I should put up black locust and Morgan. I've never been right. One part of the side business has been selling seedling black locusts. So
They need to come up with
I know there's a market for it. I personally I want to educate the potential buyer a lot more before I just go, here's a black locust tree. Yes, I do have them and I can sell them, but I really want to educate the potential buyer a lot more before I just put that out there, because you have to know some things about black locust trees. Black locust trees are an excellent pioneer species. They're a nitrogen fixer. They feed pollinators like nobody's business. They're awesome for that, but they have very sharp thorns, and they are very, very vigorous in their expansion. They propagate through subsurface runners about 3 or 4 inches or even less, sometimes beneath the surface of the soil. And if you've got one going, it's going to spread everywhere unless you build a rhizome barrier. And I really do want to spend some time talking about how to build an effective and long-lasting rhizome barrier, and make sure that sort of information is out there well before I pack up a black locust tree and send it to somebody that may or may not be ready for what this tree can do. As a privacy hedge, it's awesome. Black locusts are awesome. You set up a rhizome barrier, a couple feet on either side, plant in that area. You want that rhizome barrier to go down a good 2 feet or so. 18 inches is probably sufficient, but just like you would for bamboo.
I don't think.
And then as
they
that
would get out.
as that tree wants to grow and send out runners, the runners don't get to escape from the rhizome barrier. Now you will still have seedlings from whenever the seed pods fall and you get on the ground. If you've got livestock, poultry, perhaps, then they may help keep that from happening, because they'll eat some of those seeds, the legumes, they can eat it. That will reduce some of the self-seeding ones, but you'll still occasionally have to extract one before it takes over. But they will make a very excellent hedge, almost like having a barbed wire fence, only it's natural. All right. Sasspress says I want to use them for my fencing. Yeah, that's a perfect use for them, for like an outer perimeter security hedge. And since it is also, once again, nitrogen fixing, your cuttings and your mulch from that is going to help enrich your soil on your property as well. So multiple purpose. Gail is with us tonight. Gail Southern. Hi, Gail. Haven't seen you in a hot minute. Listening and making jewelry. That sounds fun. I love making jewelry. I haven't done it in a while. Billy says made wooden hammers from black locust. Shave well and peel decent with a black locust is a pretty cool wood. I mean, excellent for outdoor applications. If you're burning it for firewood, it burns hot. It burns long. And yeah, black locust. Greg's saying it makes great fence, but awesome fence posts. And if you're able to tolerate the thorniness of it, one thing that you can do is grow that black locust up so it's a pole and cut it off, somewhere around head height. and keep cutting it off. And then mulch the toppings. Use that as biomass. Nitrogen rich. It's going to enrich your soil tremendously. That pole will stay alive, and you just keep on cutting it. Pollarding is what this is called. And it is a living fence post that produces fertilizer whenever you cut it. That's great stuff that you can do with locust. Just be aware, it wants to take over the world, and it will if you let it. Yeah, there he is. Sasspress says, we want to coppice and weed locust into a living fence. That's a great use for it. Get Kevlar gloves. Kevlar gloves have been a great help for me when handling locust. I found some for sale at the ranch supply house. They're originally designed for working whenever you're moving hay around, bucking hay bales and stuff like that. But the Kevlar stops the thorns from doing a whole lot of damage to your hands, so you can handle it. But you're going to want covering on your arms too, because they will cut you like that. Homestead says, Jason, can you see me? I can see the great big frog eye. Hi, Robert. How you doing? Yeah, I can see the frog, and I'm kind of excited about expanding our aquatic projects, because I do want to eventually have some outdoor in-ground stuff. I've got a few sites, but I've started laying out sort of the footprint for outdoor ponds. So we're gonna have one that's designated just for the ducks, and they're going to be able to go in there and muck it up. And I'm building it with the ability that we can turn a valve to be about a 3-inch wide outflow from this, and just turn a valve, whoosh, flush off that bottom couple of inches of sludge off the bottom. We're straight out to the corn patch. So whenever the ducks get the duck pond fouled up, which they will, it's just flush it out real quick, top it off with fresh water, maybe once a week, instead of having to do about 15 to 20 minutes of watering, or longer, especially during the winter months, whenever you have frozen water to deal with, changing out the water for the ducks. We just want to make it a quick, streamlined way that we can satisfy the needs of the ducks. They're going to be happy. They're going to have plenty of fresh water, and the cleanup for them is going to be quick. It's going to be not backbreaking labor, especially if we have to manually pump the water. I have a manual pump in case of emergency, right? I can pump that water up there, and I can make it a fairly simple once a week chore, instead of a long drawn out process as it is right now. So that's coming up. Aside from the duck pond, I've got an area set up aside over here where I want to put in, I'm thinking maybe a grow area for flathead catfish, in all actuality. I just might put a pump over there to keep some water circulating in that area. Flathead catfish, lots of stacking cement blocks for them to hide amongst. And then over here on this side of the house, I will need about maybe 2,000 gallons worth, possibly more, of an area for breeding pink fathead minnows in. So I'm thinking the pink fathead minnow. It has a nice rosy appearance, and in a planted woodland gardens setting, a whole bunch of these little pink fathead minnows swimming around, I think, would just be adorable, really. And you just reach in, stand a few out, toss them into the flathead catfish, fathead minnows, fathead catfish, or flathead cat, fathead minnow, flathead catfish. That's what it is. So the minnows feed the catfish, and you breed the minnows over here in this pool over here. Segregate the eggs whenever they've been fertilized, so you can grow them up. The adults would eat them otherwise. Anyway, fun stuff up and coming. Let's get back to product being offered. So here we are. Once again, on the topic of generational thinking. The thought that occurs to me is, we receive from the people who lived on the land that we occupy now, we receive whatever it is that they did, whatever they improved or whatever they harmed in the ecosystem that we inherit from them. We're effectively their heirs in the land. And this is somewhat important, because the people who came before us, living where we're living now, they tried things. They tried things that worked. They tried things that failed. And it's important to notice and respect what it is that they were doing, because through that course of trial and error, our ancestors on the land, maybe not our genetic ancestors, but the people who came before us, who live where we live now, would have found out what variety of squash or corn or beans or what type of animal is good to grow or raise in this climate and in this environment. It's different for everywhere. The specific thing that really does good where you are, it's different everywhere you go. So you want to listen to the ancestors on the land to find out what it is that you should be doing to optimize your growth potential. And here in northeastern Oklahoma, I tried different kinds of corn and varied success. Where I really wanted to have a natural garden, so no pesticides, no herbicides, and nothing of that nature going on. So unlike what is done with commercially cultivated corn. Sweet corn is, always been something we love to have. I love roasting sweet corn. Tried sweet corn for a while, mixed success. Peaches and cream, it didn't work very well at all. I think an early yellow Bantam did kind of okay, um, but I was really getting bummed out because I was not finding a corn that really wanted to grow here. And so I decided to listen to the ancestors of the land and go, okay, I know there are people who used to live here on this land a long, long time ago. I know they grew corn. What corn were they growing? Can I find it? And I did. It's called the Big Horse Spotted Corn. The people that lived here in northeastern Oklahoma, the Osage Nation, and we're talking everywhere from Oklahoma City east on into Arkansas, into the Ozarks and Arkansas, that area, and north all the way up into Kansas, all of this big chunk of northeastern Oklahoma, what we call green country. This was all Osage territory. Oklahoma also at that time had some Apache and Comanche, and I believe some Lakota were coming in occasionally in the western northwestern areas. Occasionally they would come here as well. So these were all plains tribes and a little bit different lifestyles, following the bison herds, or in some cases actually actively participating in the movement and migration of the bison. So they would do gardens, but they needed to plant things that they could pack up, leave, and come back a few months later. They didn't have to be right there tending it constantly. So the corn that they wound up over the courses of generations having that was successful is a corn that's not necessarily completely resistant to drought or disease or insect predation. It's not, not completely immune, but it is resistant. And so whenever I put it into a natural gardening system, let's say ducks are coming along and they're hunting the grasshoppers don't have an opportunity to really do heavy damage to the corn. I discovered once I get the ducks in there, the ducks get the habit of knowing they can hit that corn stalk, knock the grasshopper down where they can get to it. They can't eat the corn, but they can eat the grasshoppers. And so the ducks are responsible for taking care of pest control for them. Now that I've got that system, it's great. The fertilizer, of course, is what the ducks leave behind. And this bag here is all suitable for seed. And so I am going to work a magic trick for you guys. I am going to go and turn back time. That's right. I am going to cause time to rewind all the way back to 2019. I am going to turn back time to 2019, pre-pandemic 2019. Have you noticed how everything's getting more expensive and things are hard to find? No, this particular strain of corn has become hard to find, but I am going to offer it for sale at the same price that I picked it up in 2019 for. So even though the original seller that I got it for no longer has it, I'm able to offer it at the same price that they offered it back in 2019, which is to say 16 grams or just over 100 seed count, pretty high germination rate. You don't have to overplant and thin. 100 seeds, $4.99. Available at greencountryagroforestry.com. And as you can see, I have enough. Well, not for everybody, but I do have enough for plenty of people to be able to get in on this, plant a few blocks of an heirloom corn that is, I got to tell you, some of the sweetest roasted corn you've ever had. And it's not even supposed to be a sweet corn. It's a flour corn. But if you roast this with butter, oh my goodness, it's so good. And of course, very pretty. A conversation started for sure. Um, we package these in, of course, as you can see, all natural fiber envelopes, no dyes. I just write down what it is, how much is in there, and that's it. Fully biodegradable. So that's 16 grams. What do you get? Yeah, grow your own corn. Hello. A great flour corn makes an excellent corn tortilla. Awesome tamales. I've been told that it's good for whiskey. I haven't tried making whiskey with it, so I can't verify that that is the case, but I suspect they're probably right. It does have those really good characteristics. Nice flavor. Um, Most genetically diverse corn I've been able to get my hands on. And so we have this available. We live here in the Arkansas River Valley, far away from any other operation that's selling or growing any kind of corn. That means we're sheltered. We're not getting pollen from anywhere else, and we're able to keep this heirloom strain as pure as possible. Yay! So that's the second part of our big announcements tonight. We have actually got the heirloom corn that people have been asking for, and it's actually on sale right now on our website, greencountryagroforestry.com. That is greencountryagroforestry.com, and that's just pretty easy to remember. Ricochet Billy is saying, is the corn sweet? The corn, whenever you eat it fresh, it is very sweet. It is super sweet, deceptively sweet, because you're thinking, well, this is supposed to be a flour corn. It's supposed to be starchy, and you bite into it and go, oh wow, I haven't had a corn this sweet in a while, and it's quite good. Yeah. Mm. Didn't know I owned a DeLorean.
That was a weird car.
I'm a former battleship sailor, so I can turn back time if you get that reference, right? I was not on board for that music video, incidentally. That was not shot when I was there. Fairly close, but missed it by that much. Amaria's saying, can I Google it? Can you Google what?
Oh, Greg was mentioning something like, "Hey, do you remember so and so?" I'm like, "Can I Google that?"
Hang on a second.
Let's see.
Let me go ahead, and I am just going to go grab this really quick for you, and I'm going to drop it in chat. I'm going to share a link. Oh, I also said I wanted to do another channel shout out, which I'm going to do here in just a moment as well. Let me go ahead and grab this link for you real quick. I'm going to drop it in chat so you can find it. You can come back on the replay whenever you like and come and visit our shop. We don't have a lot. I've got listed on my inventory that we have 20 of the redbud trees available, right? We do have a few more than 20. And incidentally, I've stated that what we're shipping is 1 to 2 foot tall, bare root, established seedlings. I do have a few that are bigger. I do have a few that are smaller. So if you grab your order number and shoot me an email, greencountryagroforestry@gmail.com, or you can use contact information on our website as well to say, hey, Jason, this is my order number. Could you send me maybe one of the larger ones? Or I would like to have a smaller one. I want it to really get established in that space. Either way is fine. I'm happy to accommodate you. No charge up or down either way. So right here is our web address for, of course, the shop. Of course, you can always get our Green Country Agroforestry nice soft t-shirts, or if you want to support human rights for the people in Canada suffering under horrible tyranny, there's absolutely no payment that goes to them for buying one of the Strong and Free sweatshirts that I designed and put up for sale. But you can visibly show your support by wearing one, and those are nice and warm too, by the way. The red stands out whenever you're in the snow, so hopefully you don't get hit by a snowplow. Great to wear when you're out and about eating cheese curds, eh? All right. They squeak. All right. So I said I was going to do a channel shout out. One of our friends, a very old friend of the channel, one of the very first subscribers to our channel, as a matter of fact. I mean, he subscribed about the same time that that Quebec Homestead subscribed. So that was really, really early on. And longtime supporter, as he's been a good friend to the channel, came out and visited us here in Oklahoma a few times. Tim Roberts at Ridge Life has opened up a new channel. He's going through some life changes. Shifted over to living out of a trailer on the back half of his acreage in Tennessee, and he's going to go ahead and proceed with a bunch of homesteading adventure type stuff in the months and years ahead. So you're going to see a lot of new stuff and a lot of building. If you're kind of interested in that sort of content, Tim is a great friend, and his new channel called Ridge Life Ramblings, it's going to be right here at this link. I'm going to share with you. This would be coming up on Tuesday. The link I'm sharing is his first inaugural stream on the new channel. I think he's going to have Florida Man on as a guest. So if you want to if you want to catch up with Tim, see what he's up to, follow his adventures as he begins a new phase in his life and gets more into the physical construction of the homestead. I think it's one of the things you're going to see coming up. He's having a get together with some friends from Florida, and that'll be coming up on Tuesday. So anyway, Billy's saying need to get in touch with Tim. Believe it's just ridgelife at gmail.com. Take a look at his on the about page. I believe he's got an email address you can contact him. Yep. Nice guy, super nice. Gales is saying Tim Ridge Life. Yeah, that's Tim Ridge Life. Yep. How is Tim's wife? Well, you see, that's the thing. They've had a separation, and I don't know exactly how she's doing at the moment. So, but such things happen. That is a one of the hazards, I guess, of being in the spotlight YouTube community, homesteading community. Life happens, and you have to keep on going and you roll with it, and that's real life. We all have it. Mary is saying, I thought red buds were weeds, but the seed pods can be. I mean, they are essentially they're weeds for us, but they're valuable landscaping plants everywhere else. It's just, they pop up out of the ground here. What can I say? And of course, I've got pecan trees popping up out of the ground. Soon I'm going to have hazelnut trees popping up out of the ground. I've got I've got chinkapin, Allegheny chinkapin on order. So pretty soon I'll have chinkapin, which is basically a dwarf chestnut. That'll be popping up out of the ground. We'll see if the ducks like to eat chinkapins, if they like to eat the chestnuts. Chestnuts are more of a carbohydrate tree product, a tree food. Pecans and hazelnuts are a little bit higher on fats and proteins. Almonds also higher on fats and proteins. If you're down south in the vicinity of Ecuador, you might be growing Brazil nuts. Not really a nut in all actuality, it's a seed, but that's probably one of the highest fat content tree nuts that you can get. Anyway, I'm rambling here. She was sick. I don't know how she's doing on health-wise right now, but they are not currently coupled together. Kimber's in the house. She's literally in the house. She's in the back room right now.
I think they're still out getting dinner.
Oh, are they? Oh, I thought I heard the truck. I thought I heard the truck with them coming in. Hi. If you're outside, the back door is open. Come on through. Security is aware of your presence. Yeah, but she had she had some cancer issues, and I don't know how that's worked out. Speaking of such things, hey, did you know, anecdotally, that there is a chemical compound found in the pits of members of the genus Prunus. This compound called laetrile has anecdotally been linked to the remission of cancer when consumed. Now, of course, since I'm not a doctor and I can't give you medical advice legally as a doctor, I can only say that this is anecdotal information, but people have apparently, mysteriously, and probably by pure coincidence, of course, discovered spontaneous remission of cancer when consuming fairly decent amounts of laetrile. Experimentation into this particular um, aspect of what appears to be possibly a cure for some forms of cancer has been discouraged by the pharmaceutical industry for some unknown reason. I can't imagine what it might be. So, peach pits, basically. But other members of the Prunus genus include almond trees, which is kind of interesting. Um, and we have ordered up an all-in-one almond tree that supposedly can grow from zone 5 through 9. We're in zone 7, so we're going to find out if a self-fertile almond tree can survive here. I don't expect it's going to make fruit every year, but it's possible we might occasionally get an almond or two out of it, so that'll be fun. We also ordered up, let's see, what else do we have? We've got some an Asian persimmon on the way that we're going to be adding to the cornucopia of different things that we're planting around here. It may be a while before I'm able to offer any propagules from the persimmon tree, but hopefully someday I'll be able to offer you a self-fertile Asian persimmon as well, and that'll be kind of fun. I figure I don't really need to have hundreds and hundreds of the same plant. Maybe a dozen or so pecan trees, a few dozen hazelnut trees, a dozen or so of the Allegheny chinkapins, half a dozen peaches, half a dozen plums, a cherry or two here or there. That all adds up to really a whole bunch of different trees that, since I'm a small and independent operator, not a whole lot of overhead, I'm growing this in my yard. I can produce and provide to the public a good quality, organically grown, better than organic in all actuality, product that's available at a lower price than you get from one of the larger nurseries. So I'm kind of happy to be really getting into that niche market and starting out. We've got our first tree, yay, and more to come. Let me see here. Tinker's wife, Patty, is here. Hi, hello everyone. Sassafras asked if I have used Burnt Ridge for some things. I don't get everything from Burnt Ridge. The Allegheny chinkapins were available for such a low price from Willis Orchard. I got a few from them. They had a bunch, and the price was good, so I went ahead and get them. They're one of the larger nurseries, but I've had good success with them, so I don't mind ordering a few trees from there. I used One Green World for the persimmon and the almond tree, and those guys are in Portland, Oregon. Vicky says, I'm looking at getting almond trees, but I can't get everything I want all at once. I feel you. I do. There are so many awesome things out there, and I want to make sure I have a broad variety of different things. And just, building that variety up, you can do it just a couple trees at a time. Once again, generational mindset. Maybe these trees are not going to reach their peak production before you die of old age. Okay. But once you've got them there, whoever comes along and is your heir to the land, once you're even no longer with us, even, is going to be able to build upon that and improve the land beyond that and further improve it, if they're of that same mindset that wants to think generationally speaking, to the point where one day the people that come that are your heirs on the land are going to look back and go, whoever planted that Carpathian walnut may have been 80 years ago, but now it's full, it's mature, and it's producing this 400 pounds of nuts a year, right? This massive bounty that just comes every year. What do? You go and you harvest it. That's what you do. Such wealth that you can pass on through the generations to just future generations of humanity is such a wonderful gift. And knowing that you are leaving that sort of legacy, I think, should fill you with a great sense of pride. I don't know. It does me. I really like the idea of someday somebody coming along and sitting in the shade of a massive tree that I planted and thinking about who it was that cared so much for them on the day that they needed shade that they would plant that tree so long ago. So try to be one of those people. I want to be one of those people. Maybe you would too. Wickershire is saying Jason is the walnut thin or thick shell. Carpathian walnuts are like English walnuts. They're just a very long growing and long lived hardwood tree. Mickey says I put my land into a trust. That's awesome. That's the way you kind of make sure that it's continued to be used for the purposes that you want it to be used for. Mary is saying, I think my talking can put anyone to sleep. All right. Hey, I don't know. I'm excited about the topic. I'm excited about the potential for the future. I mean, we do really live in this age of wonders where I can reach out. I can type in a Google search. If I have a question about something, I can type in a Google search. I can go and I can cross-reference materials that people have been making available on the internet. Everybody that's interested in this topic that has something to offer adds a little bit more, adds a little bit more, adds a little bit more until that library of information that's available right here at our fingertips reaches a point where we can put together the most amazing connections and build ecosystems that are vibrant and functional and productive, to the point where the more diverse that we make them, the more we put into them, optimizing that particular ecosystem, the surplus that it generates is something that we can just simply casually survive off of and live off of and thrive off of, to the point where we look around and say, hey, we're a part of this ecosystem that we live in and it sustains us. And that's the purpose, I really believe, of what we're doing here on planet Earth. All right, so how long have I been babbling? Almost 9 o'clock. Been going on for about an hour. I'm so glad all of you guys showed up tonight, especially so we have some long-term friends, people I haven't seen in a while showed up. It's awesome. I love seeing you. Tazarez is looking at another lot down the street just to plant that. How many are you guys up to now? Every time you stop by, you're getting another lot. That's what? Oh, would you guys like to see a kitty cat? Okay.
Usually Pinky comes by, but she's just like, as soon as you reach for
Oh,
her, she's like, I'm out here.
Hi.
This is like the little cheese.
This little fella. His name is. Oh, you're so sneaky and smooth and soft. This little fella. Hey, look at the camera. Hey, look at the camera. Look at the camera. This little fella is named Cheesecake. He's one of the kids' kitty cats. He wants to go. He wants to go back to his people. There you go.
He's almost a year old.
Yeah, he's getting so big.
The rest of the house. He's like, what's that?
Kitties.
Oh, the green screen.
Kitties. Let's see. Yeah. Let me see here. What did I miss? They ask you, how many lots filled with gardens do I need? All of them. There you go. Yeah, good answer. Good answer. Thank you very much, Robert. Hey, Doc, indoor bar. So as you can tell, I've got a house full right now. I'm getting ready to throw another log on the fire. It's nice and toasty tonight. Thank you very much for joining in and hearing my wonderful announcement. Guys, don't wait too long. I will run out of supplies. And at the moment, the only other place I know of that's selling Big Horse is selling 35 seeds for $3. So do the math. If you want to be able to participate in keeping this heirloom alive, I've got it, at least until I run out. I do need to make sure I save enough to plant my own. Sassafras closing up here with the reminder, no matter about how bad it seems, remember, spring is coming, plant good seeds, do good deeds, and be kind to others and yourself. That is an awesome way to end right there. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, get out there, get growing, and I will catch you next time.